Hello and welcome to this training course titled Global Environmental Problems, part of our broader initiative called No Other World. We are so glad to have you here. This course is designed to give you a deep understanding of the critical environmental challenges we face today, issues that affect every single person on this planet. From climate change and deforestation to pollution and loss of biodiversity, we'll take a close look at what's happening, why it matters, and how each of us can make a difference. The title of our project, No Other World, is a reminder that Earth is our only home. There's no backup planet, no reset button, and no second chance. We must act now to protect it. Throughout this presentation, we'll explore both the science and the social impacts of global environmental problems. But more importantly, we'll also highlight the solutions, things that governments, communities, and individuals like you can do to help build a more sustainable and healthier future. So, let's begin this journey together, toward greater awareness, deeper responsibility, and meaningful action for the planet. Welcome to the course. Global Environmental Problems, a Call to Action. Explore urgent environmental challenges. Around the world, ecosystems are under pressure. Climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss, and deforestation are just some of the growing threats we must urgently address. These problems are not only harming the planet, they are affecting our health, economies, and futures. Understand scientific, social, and policy aspects. To fully grasp these issues, we need to look at them from different perspectives. The scientific dimension helps us understand the causes and effects, how greenhouse gases change our climate, or how plastic ends up in our oceans. The social aspect reminds us how these problems affect people, especially vulnerable communities. And the policy side shows us what governments and organizations are doing, or not doing, to solve them. Learn about global agreements and local responses. You'll discover how the world has come together to fight environmental problems. Through agreements like the Paris Climate Accord, the Convention on Biological Diversity, and the Sustainable Development Goals. But we'll also look at how small, local actions, by schools, youth groups, and individuals, can play a big role. Prepare to design your own awareness or action campaign. Finally, this course challenges you to go beyond learning and take action. By the end, you'll have the opportunity to create your own awareness campaign or environmental action plan. This could be something to raise awareness in your school, clean up a local area, or even inspire others to join the cause. In short, this is not just a course. It's a mission. Let's now look at the learning objectives and map out the journey we'll take together. Let's take a moment to understand what you'll learn and accomplish in this course. Our journey is structured around 4 main learning goals that will guide you from awareness to action. First, identify key problems. You'll begin by recognizing and understanding some of the most critical environmental challenges facing the world today. We're talking about climate change, deforestation, pollution, water scarcity, loss of biodiversity, and more. These are big, global issues, but you'll see how they also show up in everyday life. Second, understand interconnections. Environmental problems don't exist in isolation. You'll learn how science, society, and policy are interconnected, how a single issue like plastic pollution can affect marine life, human health, and even global economics. By looking at these links, you'll gain a deeper, more complete picture of the challenges we face. Third, examine global efforts. What is the world doing about these problems? In this section, we'll explore international agreements like the Paris Climate Accord and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You'll learn how countries, NGOs, and communities are working together to solve environmental issues, and where more effort is still needed. Fourth, create local campaigns. Finally, we move from learning to doing. You'll have the chance to apply what you've learned by designing your own local awareness or advocacy campaign. It could be in your school, your neighborhood, or your city. The goal is to inspire real change, however small it might start. So that's the journey ahead, from understanding the problems to becoming part of the solution. But before we dive into the issues, we need to make sure we're speaking the same language. Let's move on to some key terms and concepts that will help us build a strong foundation. Before we move forward, it's important to understand the language of environmental science and policy. These key terms will help you navigate the rest of the course more confidently. Let's start with the foundational concepts. Climate. This means long-term patterns of temperature, precipitation, wind, and other weather elements in a region. When we talk about climate change, we're referring to changes in these patterns over decades or centuries. Environment. This includes all the external factors that affect living organisms, air, water, land, and human-made surroundings. Sustainability. This concept is about meeting today's needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. It encourages balance between economic growth, environmental care, and social well-being. Biodiversity. This is the rich variety of life on Earth, from insects to whales, forests to coral reefs. It's what makes ecosystems strong, adaptable, and productive. Now on to the action-oriented terms, the words tied to solutions. Mitigation. These are actions that reduce or prevent the severity of environmental problems. For example, reducing greenhouse gas emissions helps mitigate climate change. Adaptation. This refers to how we adjust to current or expected environmental changes. Examples include building seawalls in flood-prone areas or using drought-tolerant crops. Resilience. This is the ability of a system, whether it's a city, an ecosystem, or a community, to withstand and recover from shocks like natural disasters or climate impacts. These terms will appear throughout the course, so take time to get comfortable with them. Light bulb teachers and trainers. At this point, you may wish to pause and run a short vocabulary activity. For example, create a simple matching quiz where students pair each term with its definition. This reinforces learning and encourages group discussion. You could also use flashcards or digital tools like Kahoot to make it interactive. With our key vocabulary in place, we're now ready to explore our first major global environmental issue, climate change. In our first week, we'll take a step back and look at the planet as a whole system. Before we explore specific environmental issues, it's important to understand the big picture, how Earth functions, how different parts of the world are connected, and how human activity fits into the global puzzle. Let's go through the key components of this week. Earth systems. Explore planetary boundaries. The Earth is made up of complex systems that interact with one another, like the atmosphere, oceans, land, and living organisms. Scientists refer to planetary boundaries to describe the limits within which humanity can safely operate. These boundaries include things like climate stability, freshwater use, biodiversity loss, and chemical pollution. When we cross these boundaries, we risk causing irreversible damage to Earth's systems. In this part of the course, we'll explore what those boundaries are and why they matter. Global interdependence. See how regions are connected. Environmental problems are not contained within borders. Deforestation in one country can affect the climate in another. Air pollution can travel across continents. Overfishing in one ocean can affect food supplies elsewhere. We live in a globally connected world, and this interdependence means that no country can solve environmental problems alone. You'll learn how global trade, travel, climate patterns, and shared ecosystems make every region part of the same environmental network. World Map Activity. Pinpoint problems by region. As part of this week's activities, you'll use a world map to identify major environmental issues by region. For example, rising sea levels in the Pacific Islands, deforestation in the Amazon, or air pollution in urban Asia. This activity helps visualize the global spread of environmental problems and encourages you to think geographically and critically. Teachers and trainers, you can guide your students through a collaborative map activity. Use physical maps, digital tools like Google Earth, or online mapping platforms to mark regions and discuss key issues in each one. This foundation will prepare us to move into next week's focus, how humans impact the environment through our actions, technologies, and lifestyles. Let's take a closer look at that next. Humans have become one of the most powerful forces shaping the planet. In this section, we'll explore how our growth and development have changed Earth's systems, often in ways that strain its natural limits. Expansion and growth, agricultural expansion, industrialization, and urbanization reshape landscapes globally. Throughout history, human societies have expanded by transforming nature, clearing forests for farming, building cities, extracting minerals, and constructing infrastructure. Agriculture has expanded to feed billions. Industry has grown to power economies. Cities have sprawled across landscapes. While these changes have brought progress, they've also led to deforestation, habitat loss, soil degradation, and rising pollution levels. We'll explore how these three forces, agriculture, industry, and cities, have reshaped ecosystems and biodiversity worldwide. Ecological footprint, measure our demand on Earth's resources. Overshoot Day marks exceeding annual biocapacity. The ecological footprint is a tool used to measure how much land and water area a population requires to produce the resources it consumes and to absorb its waste, especially carbon emissions. Every year, researchers calculate Earth Overshoot Day, the date when humanity has used up all the natural resources the planet can regenerate in a year. After that date, we're in ecological debt. Many countries exceed their fair share of Earth's capacity, often at the cost of future generations. Local impact, how does your city's growth and consumption affect the planet? Let's discuss our urban footprint. Let's now zoom in. Think about your own city or town, how has it grown in recent decades? What kinds of consumption patterns are common? Urban areas are hubs of innovation, culture, and economic opportunity, but they also produce a large share of global emissions, waste, and resource consumption. This is a great point for discussion. Teachers. You can prompt students to investigate how local transportation, energy use, or waste management practices in their community contribute to environmental impact. So, from the global scale to your own backyard, we're all part of the picture. In the next part of our course, we'll take a closer look at one of the most pressing consequences of human impact, climate change and global warming. This week, we focus on one of the most urgent and far-reaching environmental challenges, climate change. Let's begin with some key facts. 1.1 degrees Celsius global temp rise, since pre-industrial levels. Since the late 1800s, average global temperatures have risen by approximately 1.1 degrees Celsius. That might not sound like much, but even small increases have a huge impact on weather, sea levels, ecosystems, and food production. The warming trend is accelerating, and most of it is due to human activities, especially the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. CO2 levels, highest in 800,000 years. Carbon dioxide, one of the main greenhouse gases, is now at its highest level in over 800,000 years. That means not just higher temperatures, but more intense droughts, floods, and other disruptions. Greenhouse gases trap heat in the atmosphere, and human emissions have overloaded this natural system. We are literally changing the chemistry of the air. 50% emissions cut needed, by 2030 to meet goals. To avoid the worst effects of climate change, scientists say we need to reduce global emissions by about 50% by the year 2030, just a few years from now. This goal is part of the Paris Agreement, a global pact signed by nearly every country to limit warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius. Achieving this requires action on all levels, governments, industries, communities, and individuals. In this part of the course, you'll understand the causes and effects of climate change in detail, what it is, what drives it, and what it's doing to the planet. You'll learn about greenhouse gases, how they're emitted, and the role of sectors like energy, transport, agriculture, and deforestation. Activity, calculate your carbon footprint and reflect on its impact. Now it's time to make it personal. You'll do a simple but powerful activity, calculate your own carbon footprint. There are many free online tools that help you estimate how much CO2 you produce based on your lifestyle. Things like how you travel, what you eat, and how you use energy at home. Once you've got your number, reflect on what it means. What could you change? How do your daily choices connect to the big picture? Teachers and facilitators, feel free to run this as a classroom activity or group discussion. Consider collecting results anonymously and discussing patterns as a class. Next, we'll look at one of the clearest and most dangerous signs of climate change: extreme weather events. As our planet warms, extreme weather events, like droughts, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires, are increasing in both frequency and intensity. These events are no longer rare or isolated, they are becoming regular challenges that affect millions of people around the world. Rising frequency, droughts, hurricanes, and floods are becoming more common and intense worldwide. Scientists have observed clear trends: longer and harsher droughts in some regions, stronger hurricanes with heavier rainfall, and floods caused by more intense storms and rising sea levels. These events disrupt ecosystems, economies, and human health, often hitting the most vulnerable populations hardest. Food security: these events disrupt agriculture, threatening food supplies and livelihoods globally. Extreme weather can destroy crops, reduce yields, and make farming unpredictable. This threatens global food security and the livelihoods of farmers, especially in developing countries. When food supplies shrink or prices spike, it can lead to hunger, political instability, and migration. Infrastructure damage: extreme weather causes widespread destruction to homes, roads, and essential services. Floods wash away roads and bridges, hurricanes damage homes and power grids. Rebuilding is costly and can take years, disrupting education, healthcare, and economic activity. It also increases inequalities as poorer communities often have fewer resources to recover. Headline analysis: let's analyze recent news headlines about extreme weather events and their consequences. To connect this topic with the real world, we'll examine recent news headlines related to extreme weather. This activity helps us see how these events impact different regions, the language used to describe them, and their broader social and environmental consequences. Teachers, you can select current news articles or headlines for discussion or have students bring recent examples. Encourage critical thinking by asking what causes the event, who is affected, and what responses are possible. As we transition from the growing threat of extreme weather events, it's important to understand how these environmental changes affect not just human communities but also the rich diversity of life on Earth. Extreme weather, pollution, habitat destruction, and human overuse are causing species to disappear and ecosystems to collapse, jeopardizing the vital services they provide us every day. Let's explore some key challenges. Ecosystem services: loss of vital functions like clean water and air. Ecosystems provide essential services: filtering water, purifying air, pollinating crops, regulating climate, and much more. When ecosystems degrade, these services decline, affecting all living things, including humans. Habitat loss: development and agriculture destroy natural homes. Expanding cities, farms, and infrastructure often come at the cost of natural habitats. Forests, wetlands, grasslands, and coral reefs shrink, leaving fewer places for species to live and thrive. Pollution. Contaminants harm species and ecosystems. Chemical pollutants, plastics, and waste damage ecosystems directly. They poison water sources, disrupt food chains, and harm animals' health and reproduction. Overexploitation, unsustainable harvesting depletes populations. Overfishing, illegal wildlife trade, and excessive logging remove species faster than they can recover, pushing some to the brink of extinction. Activity: take a virtual field trip to explore endangered ecosystems and learn about their unique inhabitants. To bring these issues to life, we'll take a virtual field trip. You'll explore threatened ecosystems around the world and meet some of their amazing and vulnerable species. This interactive activity will deepen your understanding and inspire you to protect biodiversity. Teachers, This is a great opportunity to use videos, online nature reserves, or virtual tours from organizations like National Geographic or WWF. Next, we'll dive into a specific driver of biodiversity loss, deforestation and land use change, and their wide-ranging impacts on our planet. Forests are among the most important ecosystems on Earth, providing oxygen, storing carbon, and supporting a vast array of species. Unfortunately, deforestation, the large-scale removal of trees, is a major driver of environmental change, with serious consequences. Let's break down the main points. Drivers: agriculture, logging, and mining fuel forest destruction. Human activities like clearing land for farming, harvesting timber, and extracting minerals are the leading causes of deforestation. These activities meet human needs but often at a high ecological cost. Carbon release: forests store carbon, cutting them releases it. Trees act as carbon sinks, they absorb CO2 from the atmosphere and store it. When forests are cut down or burned, that stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere, contributing to climate change. Biodiversity loss: many species lose their habitats and face extinction. Forests provide homes for countless species. When trees disappear, so do the habitats that many animals, birds, and plants depend on. This loss accelerates biodiversity decline and ecosystem collapse. Soil erosion: lack of trees leads to barren, unstable land. Trees and roots hold soil in place. Without them, soil becomes vulnerable to erosion by wind and water, leading to barren landscapes that are harder to farm and sustain life. Mapping exercise: identify global deforestation hotspots and discuss the regional consequences of these activities. To deepen understanding, we'll do a mapping exercise to locate global deforestation hotspots like the Amazon, Congo Basin, and Southeast Asia. We'll discuss how deforestation affects local communities, wildlife, and global climate. Teachers: use maps, satellite images, or online tools like Global Forest Watch to facilitate this activity. In our next week, we'll shift focus to pollution and waste management, another critical environmental challenge linked to land use and human activities. This week, we turn our attention to one of the most visible and pressing environmental challenges: pollution and how we manage the waste we create. Ocean plastics: vast gyres of plastic choke marine life and ecosystems. Massive floating garbage patches, called gyres, have formed in our oceans, made up mostly of plastics. These plastics harm marine animals, birds, and entire ecosystems by ingestion, entanglement, and habitat disruption. E-waste: discarded electronics create toxic landfills and resource loss. Every year, millions of tons of electronic waste, or e-waste, are discarded improperly. This waste contains harmful chemicals that leach into soil and water, threatening ecosystems and human health. Plus, valuable materials like metals are lost instead of recycled. Industrial pollution: chemicals and waste contaminate air, water, and soil. Factories and industries release pollutants into the environment: heavy metals, toxic chemicals, and particulate matter that poison ecosystems and communities. These pollutants can cause chronic illnesses and environmental degradation. Social justice and health: disproportionate impacts on vulnerable communities and public health. Pollution is not experienced equally. Low-income and marginalized communities often live closer to waste sites, factories, and polluted areas, bearing the brunt of health problems and environmental hazards. Activity: analyze a case study on national waste management solutions and their effectiveness. To understand how these challenges are tackled, we'll analyze a case study of a country's waste management system. You'll learn what works, what doesn't, and why managing pollution requires cooperation, technology, and policy. Teachers: select a relevant case study suited to your audience or use international examples such as Sweden's recycling programs or the challenges in rapidly urbanizing countries. Next, we will zoom in on one major pollution problem: plastic pollution in the ocean, and explore its causes and impacts in detail. Plastic pollution is one of the most urgent environmental crises affecting our oceans today. Microplastics and marine life. Tiny plastic particles harm marine ecosystems. They enter the food chain, impacting diverse species. This affects both wildlife and human health. Microplastics, plastic pieces smaller than a grain of rice, are found everywhere in the ocean, from surface waters to the deepest trenches. Marine animals ingest these particles, which accumulate through the food chain and can eventually affect humans who consume seafood. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This massive accumulation of marine debris is growing. It highlights the scale of ocean plastic pollution. Urgent action is needed to clean it. Located between Hawaii and California, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a floating island of plastic debris, much of it broken down but persistent. It symbolizes the scale of our plastic waste problem and the challenge of cleaning it up. Debate: single-use plastic ban. Many advocate banning single-use plastics. This aims to reduce waste at the source. It's a key debate in environmental policy today. To reduce plastic pollution, many countries and communities are considering or have implemented bans on single-use plastics like bags, straws, and cutlery. This debate highlights the balance between convenience, economy, and environmental protection. As we look at pollution and its impacts, it's essential to understand who is most affected. Next, we will explore environmental justice and global inequality, examining how environmental problems intersect with social and economic disparities worldwide. Environmental problems don't impact everyone equally. Vulnerable and marginalized populations, whether due to poverty, ethnicity, or location, often face the greatest environmental burdens. This is what we call environmental injustice or inequality. Environmental inequality: vulnerable populations often bear the brunt of pollution. They face disproportionate environmental burdens globally. This worsens existing social inequalities. For example, low-income communities may live closer to factories, waste sites, or polluted rivers. These exposures can cause health problems, economic challenges, and social marginalization, compounding existing inequalities. Diverse perspectives: indigenous knowledge offers vital ecological insights. Gender and regional views highlight unique challenges. Recognizing these diverse voices is crucial. Many indigenous communities have deep, place-based knowledge of their environments that can guide sustainable management. Gender roles and regional contexts also shape how people experience and respond to environmental challenges. Listening to these perspectives enriches solutions and fosters fairness. Forum discussion: whose voices are missing from environmental dialogues? We explore this question in our forum activity. It fosters critical thinking and empathy. In this activity, you will discuss who is often excluded from environmental decision-making and why it matters. Reflecting on this helps build awareness and empathy, which are key to just and effective environmental action. As we continue, our next focus will be on water scarcity and access, a vital global challenge that also intersects strongly with justice and equity. Water is essential for life, yet billions of people worldwide face shortages or unsafe supplies. Understanding the causes and impacts of water scarcity is crucial to addressing this global challenge. Causes of scarcity: overuse, contamination, and climate shifts drive water shortages. Population growth exacerbates the problem. Sustainable management is vital. Water scarcity happens when demand exceeds supply. Over-extraction of rivers and aquifers, pollution of water sources, and changing rainfall patterns due to climate change all contribute. Rapid population growth increases demand, making sustainable management practices necessary to secure water for future generations. Case studies: Sub-Saharan Africa faces severe water stress. South Asia struggles with groundwater depletion. These regions show urgent need for solutions. In Sub-Saharan Africa, many communities lack reliable access to clean water, affecting health and livelihoods. In South Asia, excessive groundwater pumping threatens long-term water availability. These examples highlight different but urgent water challenges requiring tailored solutions. Water allocation simulation: simulate water distribution in a community. This interactive exercise reveals complexities. It emphasizes equitable resource management. To understand these challenges better, you'll participate in a simulation exercise where you'll allocate limited water resources in a community. This activity demonstrates the difficult choices and trade-offs involved and highlights the importance of fairness in water management. Teachers, use role-play or digital tools to run this simulation and encourage discussion about sustainable and equitable water use. Next, we'll explore solutions and global cooperation, looking at how countries and communities work together to tackle environmental problems. As we've explored many global environmental challenges, it's essential to focus on how solutions can be implemented, and the critical role of international cooperation. Sustainability: embrace renewable energy sources like solar and wind. Promote reforestation efforts globally. These actions combat climate change effectively. Transitioning to renewable energy reduces greenhouse gas emissions, while reforestation helps absorb carbon dioxide and restore ecosystems. Sustainable practices like these form the backbone of effective environmental solutions. Global movements: international cooperation is key for environmental goals. Treaties and shared initiatives foster progress. Collective action is paramount for impact. No single country can solve these problems alone. Global agreements such as the Paris Agreement and collaborative programs help align efforts and share resources. Working together amplifies our impact. Final project. Design a compelling campaign for a global environmental goal. This project allows practical application of knowledge. It fosters creativity and advocacy skills. As a culminating activity, you'll create an awareness or advocacy campaign around a global environmental issue. This project will allow you to apply what you've learned, sharpen your communication skills, and become an active participant in global environmental efforts. Teachers, encourage students to select topics they are passionate about and to use diverse media like videos, posters, or social media campaigns. Young people around the world are at the forefront of environmental activism. Their passion and persistence are driving major changes in awareness and policy. Youth-led movements: Fridays for Future inspired global climate action. Youth are leading powerful movements. Their voices are critical for change. Inspired by Greta Thunberg's solo school strikes, the Fridays for Future movement has grown into a global force demanding urgent climate action from leaders. Youth bring fresh energy, new ideas, and a sense of urgency to the fight for the planet. Global climate strikes: millions of young people strike for climate action. They demand urgent policy changes. These campaigns raise global awareness. Climate strikes have mobilized millions across continents, showing the power of collective youth voices. These events pressure governments and businesses to adopt stronger environmental policies and commit to sustainability goals. Research youth leaders. Identify an influential youth environmental leader. Research their impact and present findings. Learn from their dedication and strategies. For this activity, select a youth environmental leader, someone whose work inspires you. Research their story, campaigns, and achievements, then share what you learned with the group. This exercise helps understand effective advocacy and the importance of individual contributions. Teachers, provide examples like Greta Thunberg, Autumn Peltier, or Vanessa Nakate to kickstart student research. Next, we will explore how technology and innovation for the planet are shaping new solutions and transforming our environmental future. Technological advances are playing an essential role in addressing environmental challenges and creating a more sustainable future. Green technologies, solar, wind, and clean transport offer solutions. These innovations reduce carbon footprints. They drive sustainable development. Renewable energy technologies like solar and wind power are replacing fossil fuels, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Electric vehicles and sustainable transportation reduce pollution in cities. These innovations are critical components of global efforts to combat climate change. AI and data monitor environmental changes. Apps provide real-time ecological insights. Technology empowers informed decision-making. Artificial intelligence and big data help scientists track deforestation, monitor wildlife, and predict climate patterns. Mobile apps and sensors empower individuals and communities to participate in environmental monitoring and conservation. Invent ecotech. Brainstorm your own innovative ecotech solution. This creative exercise fosters problem solving. Imagine the future of environmental tech. You will now brainstorm and design an ecotechnology innovation, something that could help solve an environmental problem. This exercise encourages creativity and forward thinking about how technology can be part of the solution. Teachers, encourage students to think broadly and creatively, from new gadgets to apps or systems that improve sustainability. To support your learning and engagement, we've compiled valuable resources and an overview of the certification process. Valuable resources: UN SDG Toolkit provides policy guidance. NASA Earth Data offers critical insights. Activist videos inspire further engagement. The UN Sustainable Development Goals Toolkit offers frameworks and policy guidance on global challenges. NASA Earth Data provides real-time environmental data and images that enhance understanding. Additionally, activist videos give a powerful perspective and inspire action. Course certification. Certification is based on weekly participation. A strong final project is also required. Your efforts earn recognition. Active participation throughout the course and a well-developed final project are key to earning your certification. This demonstrates not only your knowledge but your dedication to environmental stewardship. Digital certificate. Receive a digital certificate of completion. This validates your environmental knowledge. It demonstrates your commitment to sustainability. Upon successful completion, you'll receive a digital certificate you can share with schools, colleges, or employers, showing your expertise and commitment to sustainability. Teachers, encourage students to utilize these resources and stay engaged weekly to meet certification criteria. Up next, we will explore careers in environmental fields, showcasing pathways to turn passion into profession. The environmental challenges we've explored throughout this course require passionate and skilled individuals in every sector. This slide is your gateway to the many career opportunities where you can make a real difference. Environmental science. Analyze environmental systems and issues. Research pollution, climate change, and conservation. Contribute to scientific understanding. Environmental scientists play a critical role in understanding our planet's systems. They gather data, conduct experiments, and offer evidence-based solutions to major issues like pollution and climate change. If you're curious and enjoy investigation, this path could be for you. Skills and qualifications. Strong analytical and problem-solving skills are key. Interdisciplinary knowledge and communication are vital. Passion for the planet is essential. No matter your role, success in environmental fields depends on a combination of skills. These include scientific literacy, systems thinking, and the ability to collaborate and communicate across disciplines. Just as important is your motivation to create positive change. Policy and conservation. Shape environmental regulations and policies. Protect natural resources and biodiversity. Advocate for sustainable practices. If you're interested in politics, law, or community organizing, you might consider a role in environmental policy or conservation. These professionals create and enforce regulations that protect our ecosystems, support indigenous land rights, and promote long-term sustainability. Green technology. Develop and implement eco-friendly technologies. Innovate in renewable energy and sustainable design. Drive a greener economy. The green economy is growing fast. Engineers, designers, and entrepreneurs are needed to build the next generation of solar panels, green buildings, electric vehicles, and beyond. Innovation is the key to reducing humanity's footprint on Earth. Teachers, consider inviting a guest speaker working in one of these fields or organizing a career day related to environmental professions. As we approach the end of our journey, our final slide will guide us through review and reflection, a chance to look back at what we've learned and where we go next. As we reach the conclusion of our course, it's time to pause, reflect, and bring it all together. Recap major themes, summarize key environmental issues discussed. Identify your personal takeaways from the course. Solidify your understanding. Over the past weeks, we've explored a wide range of environmental challenges, from climate change and biodiversity loss to pollution, water scarcity, and global inequality. We've also seen how youth, innovation, and cooperation are shaping solutions. Take a moment to think about the issues that stood out to you the most. What have you learned? What will you carry forward? Reflection activity: complete a reflection journal or group poster. Express your insights and learnings creatively. Share your unique perspective. Now it's your turn to express what this journey has meant to you. You may choose to complete a reflection journal, or collaborate with classmates on a group poster. Use drawings, words, charts. Whatever format allows you to creatively capture your insights and share your voice. Personal environmental issue: which environmental issue matters most to you? Explain your reasoning in detail. This prompt encourages deep personal connection. This final prompt is very personal: which issue impacted you the most? Was it plastic pollution, deforestation, or the voices of youth fighting for justice? Why does that issue resonate with you? Your answer is a powerful reflection of your values and your future role in the global environmental movement. Teachers, encourage students to share their reflections with the class or display their group posters in a common space. This reinforces the message that everyone's perspective matters. Thank you for being part of this journey. The planet needs informed, passionate individuals like you. Remember, there is no other world, and your actions matter.